right, so we are so excited to have Anna here with us she's out in Union, Washington. She's the project manager for the Hood Canal Salmon Enhancement Group, and she does all sorts of habitat-based restoration, and she's here to talk to us more about what she's up to and a little bit about how y'all can get involved with some of the cool work that she's doing. So with no further ado, Anna, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Awesome. So can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So like she said, I'm Anna Robinson. I've been a project manager with the Hood Canal Salmon Enhancement Group since 2017. And I'm really excited to share a bit about our organization and the things that we do for the Hood Canal Watershed. I wish we could be in person, but I guess this is the next best thing. So the Hood Canal Salmon Enhancement Group is our organization, but we're also known as the Pacific Northwest Salmon Center. And that's where our headquarters are located, which is in Belfair, Washington. The Salmon Center is really the hub for a lot of our environmental education programs. It sits on the edge of the Union River Estuary, which was restored in 2013. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what you can do with the Salmon Center a little bit later on. So the Hood Canal Salmon Enhancement Group is a 501c nonprofit. Our main focus is to restore and protect wild salmon populations in the Hood Canal Watershed, and we do that through habitat restoration projects, ecosystem research, and environmental education programs. We are part of a grassroots effort that's happening in Washington State. So back in 1990, the state legislature decided that with the plummeting salmon populations, they were going to need more grassroots efforts if restoration was going to be successful. So that's how the regional fisheries enhancement groups were created. So I have a map here showing where we are. So we're number 6 on that map, but we're one of 14 regional fisheries enhancement groups. And the RFEGs were created to support the state salmon recovery goals with community efforts. And these organizations are tasked with supplementing fish populations, restoring salmon habitat, and developing salmon-related education programs. So we're one of the bigger organizations just because we own we own the Pacific Northwest Salmon Center. So we own our building that we work at, and we have our own restoration site that we work on. And so we're able to bring in more people than some of the other organizations as far as their educational programs, because we have about 40 acres. So with that, we're primarily funded through state and federal grants. An example, like Salmon Recovery Funding Board, Puget Sound Acquisition and Restoration, or National Coastal Wetlands. That's where we get our project funding, but we also receive a lot of donations from community patrons and other foundations. So a lot of our programs and projects are developed with other resource managers who work in the Hood Canal Watershed. We have had many project partners over the year. We all have the same overall goal, and working together has allowed us to make a bigger impact on our watershed. And for a lot of these larger restoration projects, like a lot of the estuary restoration projects that we're doing, it really does take a village. So we feel very lucky that we're able to work with so many amazing partners. So in our restoration work, we mainly focus on nearshore estuaries and rivers. We have many different kinds of restoration projects that we manage, and all of these projects are focused on restoring and protecting our freshwater and estuary and salmon habitat. A lot of the time we do this by removing anthropogenic barriers such as small spanning bridges and culverts. We do large-scale estuary restoration projects that involve dike and berm removals. And so these kind of projects, the idea behind them is we're restoring the natural sediment processes, and in the estuary, the natural tidal processes. And these are really important for salmon habitat. In estuaries especially, they need a very large edge to ratio surface. And what that means is a lot of the salmon need very shallow channels, and a lot of them, in order to hide from predators. And also that's where they go through their physiological change. So as a nonprofit, we also have the ability to acquire properties, which we'll do for a future restoration project or so that we can transfer the land into conservation so that it can be protected. And that's similar to what we did. You can see on the bottom right of your screen, that's the Union River estuary. And so all of that used to be the Johnson Farm. And you can kind of see where the trail is, that all used to be dikes. And so we acquired the property, took out the dikes, created like raised boardwalks for people to go out and do bird watching on, redistributed some of the channels, and then we transferred that land to WDFW to hold in conservation. We also do a lot of tree plantings. So we remove a lot of invasive species. I don't know if any of you know what knotweed is, but it's horrendous in the Olympics in Western Washington, especially along the rivers. It's got very shallow, sinuous, weak roots. And so when it takes over the riverbanks, instead of having native conifers there, when you get a big flood, all of that sediment just washes away with the water because there's nothing holding that sediment in. So it's really important to go out and we do injections and we spray for knotweed, but then also we plant native species right after to ensure that it doesn't come right back. Okay, so what do estuaries do for salmon? So most of you probably know that rivers are essential for salmon habitat because it's where they spawn. But what about estuaries? Why are they so vital to the survival of our salmon populations? It's because estuaries act as a nursery for juvenile salmon. They provide shelter and nutrients, and they're a critical pit stop where juvenile salmon can go through those physiological changes they need to when they're moving from freshwater into saltwater. Healthy estuaries serve not just salmon, but our whole ecosystem. They filter out pollutants, and they can act as amazing carbon sinks. They store blue carbon from our oceans and our atmosphere. So one of the incredible things that I found about restoring and managing habitat for a keystone species such as salmon is that there are benefits to our ecosystem well outside of our project scope. I think that's really cool. All right, so the other thing that we're focused on are Hood Canal summer chum. So I want to talk about that for a little bit. So in 1999, Hood Canal summer chum were listed as an ESA threatened species. This listing moved the state and other agencies into action, basically. The Hood Canal Summer Chum Recovery Plan was created, which highlights the supplementation and restoration actions that need to be taken in order to move towards increasing the population and ultimately delisting the species altogether. So we work with the Hood Canal Coordinating Council to focus our restoration efforts on Hood Canal Summer Chum. And these efforts benefit other salmon through the trickle up kind of basis, because these salmon, they trickle up, Hood Canal summer chum end up being the food for other salmon in the river, which trickles up to other predators, which then trickles up to humans and our other attachments with nature. So when people think of salmon restoration, they usually picture all of the other salmon. And one of the reasons that we want to focus so much on Hood Canal summer chum is because they really start at the bottom of that salmonid food chain. So I guess to put it in these terms, they come into the river, I guess, late summer, so early August. So they're really the first big nutrient contribution to the rivers. And Hood Canal summer chum, they spawn in the first 4 miles of the river, and then they spend the rest of their juvenile life in the estuary. So really the nutrients that comes from the adult summer chum coming into spawn is left in the river for, you know, your goldfish like Chinook and sockeye, coho, steelhead, coastal cutthroat, and pinks, all the fish that people actually like to fish for. So it's really important for Hood Canal summer chum to be managed properly, and also to make sure that we're sustaining that population, because if we see a major decline in Hood Canal summer chum like we have in the past, there's going to be a direct link to the decline of other salmon, which leads to a direct link of declining orcas. And so it's really just a whole ecosystem thing, and we're focusing at the bottom. All right, so we have a lot of research projects that we do at the Salmon Center. we take a bunch on each year. We monitor summer chum and steelhead populations in the rivers. We conduct habitat field surveys. We usually do that with our stream team interns, and we continually monitor our project estuaries. So anything that we're planning to restore or have already restored, we have a timeline on how long we need to monitor just for forage fish and the plant species that are in them. And I want to point out that most of our research projects are carried out by interns and volunteers. Like I said, we are a grassroots foundation and organization, so we rely very heavily on the people in our community to help out with the estuaries and rivers around them. We are very lucky to have so many involved citizens in our watershed, and we're always looking for more. So every year since 2000, from pretty much August 15th to October 15th, we've monitored adult fish at the mouth of the Union River by collecting them in an adult fish trap or a weir. For those 2 months, volunteers and interns work in shifts 24 hours a day to collect data on adult summer chum abundance. Up until 2014 or 2004, adult chum were also collected for artificial spawning and stock supplementation in the Union and Tahuya rivers. The supplementation ended in the Union in 2003, and the river is considered a population stronghold for summer chum in the Hood Canal. So we're happy with where it's going. It's not necessarily on the rise right now, but it's not in decline, it's maintaining. So we're trying to keep that trend. The Tahuya supplementation ended in 2015. The returns weren't as good as the Union River, but they're still ranging from 200 to 1,000 fish annually. And I know that that's a big gap, but a lot of it just has to do with other things outside of the supplementation program, such as water temperatures and snowmelt that year. All right, so the adult fish weir in the Union River continues to be an annual source of data for us on the Union River population. It's also going to be starting up here in just a few months. So if you're interested in wrangling some adult salmon and helping us out with some of our research, check out our website and sign up for a shift or two. We're always looking for able-bodied people to come hang out with our fish in the river. So the Steelhead monitoring project, this is really exciting to talk about because not only is it a watershed-wide project that we do with a lot of partners, but it's also a 16-year project, and we're 2 years away from completing it. The big picture approach to this project is to supplement steelhead populations through collected fertilized eggs from natural redds in the river. After that, the fish are then reared in hatcheries until they're released back to their natal rivers. The project includes monitoring of adult juvenile salmon, and that's kind of where our part comes in at the Salmon Center. So we take over some of the steelhead monitoring. So this year and the last couple of years, we've had 4 traps. We've had the Union River, Tahuya River, Duwato River, and Little Quilcene River. And those are usually all run by our spring interns and our volunteers. We operate those screw traps every year, April and May, and the data that we collect on these consists of fish ID, genetic samples. We'll take a fin clip, which also serves as a marking sample for us, scales, and then we'll do lengths and weights on them. So what we've been seeing in this project is that we haven't really had a negative genetic side effect on the fish that we're seeing in the river due to our hatchery program, which was one of the concerns when this project first started. So that's really good, knowing that taking them from the redds and raising them in the hatchery isn't really affecting the genetics of the population as a whole. And then we're also seeing an increase of the steelhead population in the Union River. So there's something going really well in the Union River for steelhead and summer chum, and we're gonna keep it that way. Outside of that, though, we don't really have any solid results. Like I said, we're 2 years away from completing the study, so reach out to me in 2 years and I'll tell you what we found. So I just wanted to share a cute little slide, monitoring during COVID-19. So this year, because we didn't have interns or volunteers that were allowed to go out with us, staff members got stuck. I wouldn't say stuck, it was awesome, but we got to go out to the trap every day. And so here you can see my amazing fisheries technician, Coda, and his buddy, Yetna, who pretty much went out with me exclusively every day. It was a rough start for them at first, but they figured it out. Oops. So as that project's coming to a close, we'll be sharing more information on our website about what we're finding, and more reports will be coming out. So we're really excited to see that. So outside of research and restoration, we also conduct dozens of educational programs every year. We offer a lot of different opportunities to the general public, K through 12 school children, and many of these are on-site programs. So we also offer projects through clubs like 4-H or service projects. We've had a couple Eagle Scouts come out and do their service projects at the Salmon Center, which is trail work or helping out on the farm. So one of the programs that we offer is Salmon in the Classroom. And I guess I'm going to ask that right there. Have any of you heard of Salmon in the Classroom? No? So this was a program that Washington State used to fund, and it's where they take an aquarium into classrooms of grade school age kids, and they set it up with basically a artificial red and salmon eggs, and the students get to walk by the aquarium every day and watch the salmon hatch. And then once the fry are kind of sewn up, which they don't have their egg sacs anymore, they put them in little cups and they take them out to their river and they get to release them. So it was defunded just due to budget cuts, and the RFEGs kind of started taking up some of those programs that the state could no longer facilitate. And Salmon in the Classroom is one of the programs that the Hood Canal Salmon Enhancement Group started running a couple of years ago, and it's been very successful. We're right now currently only offering it to Mason County schools and I think a couple of Jefferson County schools, but we're hoping to expand that more into the Hood Canal Watershed, and then also hoping that other RFEGs are able to follow suit. I think it's a really neat program for kids to grow up watching salmon grow up and learning about them from an up close and very personal way. So some of the other programs that we offer are Green STEM Summit, which is an educational program that offers STEM in kids' classrooms. So we send out material to teachers, and we have our education coordinators go in and talk with students, and they kind of come up with projects to do. And then we have one big Green STEM Summit every summer. Sadly, we're not able to do it this summer, but normally the kids will come out and they'll all present their projects. And so it gives them a little bit of research experience and presenting experience. We also offer after-school programs and summer camps that are all donation-based. So if kids want to get outside or parents want their kids to learn about bird watching or estuary monitoring, they can sign up for any of our programs all summer long. And we do have a plan this year for the COVID-19 kind of requirements that we have to follow. And so we have everything listed on our website. So outside of all the fish stuff, we also are unique in that we have our own farm. So we have our own certified organic farm. So like I told you earlier, the Johnson farm where the Salmon Center sits now was a fully functioning farm. And when they restored the estuary, we decided to keep pieces of the farm that are farther back from the estuary to kind of teach by example, to show that agriculture and rivers and estuaries can coexist together safely. And so we do a lot of different educational programs with the farm. We have a farm stewards program where families can come and learn about animal husbandry and taking care of farm animals. And we also have a U-Pit garden, which I think is an asset to our community because it allows for people to come get good, healthy, organic food, and it's on a donation base. So if people can't pay for it, they can also donate their time to help pick weeds in the garden for an hour. And I just think it's a really fun community thing that we offer. So we also have, like I said, a lot of volunteer opportunities. We do a lot of estuary monitoring. The Union River estuary was restored back in 2013, and that annually gets monitored in the summer. We mostly do the monitoring program with our stream team interns, but we also have volunteers that can go out and do that. We also we're going to be doing a citizen science estuary monitoring project on the Duckabush River estuary next summer. The Duckabush River estuary is a place where there's a project that we're partnered with WDFW and the Army Corps of Engineers to potentially move Highway 101 to open up the estuary and open up those sediment processes in there. So that'll be coming up. And then we also have the things that I mentioned earlier, the adult fish trap, the Outmigration Trap, plantings, and some trash cleanups. So a couple events that we have coming up very soon. So one of them is the Duckabush River Estuary Trash Cleanup. So this is going to be June 26th through June 29th. In all of our site visits to the estuary, we noticed that there was a lot of trash along Highway 101 and within the river channels. And so we decided what better way to help that specific community, since we're going to be doing a huge restoration project there, than to clean up their local estuary. Unfortunately, because of the phase that we're in, we're limited to the amount of people that we can have out there. We'll have all the information on our website about it, but as of right now, it's going to be 5 groups total from 5 different households that are allowed to go. If we move into phase 3 by then, it'll be different, but for now, that's what our sign up is limited to. But either way, it's going to be fun. It's a 4-day cleanup, and we're hoping to make a difference out in the estuary. Another event that's coming up tomorrow is our Music on the Estuary. So we started this event back in 2017 to help raise money for a community amphitheater that we wanted to put at the Salmon Center. And the idea behind that is we've got a huge culture in our community with art and music and our environmental education. And so we wanted a place where students could come and do exhibitions, artists could come and show their art, musicians could come and play music, and all of it would be kind of part of bringing that community together with our natural environment, because the amphitheater would be right at the Salmon Center, right on that beautiful estuary. This year, however, we're doing the fundraiser just to support our educational programs and just the general Salmon Center programs like our U-Pick Garden and our farm. It's going to be virtual, so it's kind of a new thing for us. I think everybody's kind of getting used to the virtual things these days, but we're going to be doing 3 different days of music. So tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday, and it's all going to be posted off of our Salmon Center's Facebook Live and also our website. So if you're interested in tuning in and getting some awesome jams, check out Music on the Estuary. I will also be playing, which I don't normally broadcast because it's kind of weird to say, but I'm in a musical duo. So we're kicking it off tomorrow, and we're going to start with a big message about what the event's about and do about an hour-and-a-half set. So if you're interested, definitely check it out. It's going to be a good time. All right. So I wanted to leave some time for you guys to ask some questions.
Well, hey, Anna, I just wanted to say thanks for the presentation. It was really good. It's not so much of a question, but are your volunteer events, are they kid friendly? I've got a 7-year-old daughter that I'd really like to get involved in some of these cleanup and a lot of the efforts you're doing down there. So
yes, everything is kid friendly.